What's going on, guys? So today we have a very juicy video for you because there are rumors circulating on the internet that Ben Affleck wants out of the Batman role. Now, the interesting thing about this rumor is we actually have the source of the rumor, and that is very rare because usually somebody just hears something from somebody and then they just run with it and print headlines. But this rumor comes from John Campea over on the Collider YouTube channel, and I'm going to play what he says just so you know the context of what we're talking about in this video. So check it out right now.
Take this for what it's worth. This is coming from a guy who's been burned twice by Scoop, so please take this with a massive, massive grain of salt, okay? Don't share this around or whatever, but I'm just letting you guys know. Over the past 4 days, I've talked to 3 separate people, both in one way or another connected some way to what's going on over at Warner Brothers. And what all 3 have told me was that nothing about whether the script was thrown out or whether they liked the script, nothing about the direction of Matt Reeves is taking it, none of that. But one of the things that has come out of the conversation of all 3 was this, was that they're telling me Ben Affleck, make no mistake, he does want out. Batman, he doesn't want to be Batman anymore.
Ooh. Okay, so that is the source of the rumor. Now, before we jump in and dissect this rumor and talk about it, I do want to mention that I am going to link to this video in the description down below because you guys know on this channel I preach watch things for yourself and make up your own minds. So, you know, you can go watch that video. The first 20 minutes of the video actually talk about the Batman solo movie. They have some really good points in there. I do highly recommend you watching that. And if you want to see this just exact rumor, he starts talking about the subject around like 16 minutes in, but he says the quote around like 18 minutes in. So yeah, you can go watch that for yourself. I do highly recommend that. But we are going to dive into this rumor, and of course I'll give you my opinions at the end of the video on what I think about it. But I think this is a really huge thing right now. The reason why of all rumors I'm finding this one so interesting is 1, we know the source. Like, it's very rare that we have that. And 2, I think this is gonna kind of prove to you guys why you need to stop believing a lot of this bullshit. Because yes, some of it does end up being true, like some people do actually have great sources, but I'm gonna show you some things on why you should actually take a lot of these things and really not jump the gun with sharing them all over all your social medias. And don't worry, I've been a part of that problem too. Like, I'm like, oh shit, like, oh my god, look at this. But you know, I think it's something that it's a problem that we have just in society. But, you know, we can try to better ourselves by actually looking into a lot of the stuff, and this is what I'm going to show you guys today. For those of you that are not going to go watch this Collider video, something I do want to talk about is prior to John Campea coming out and saying this rumor, he also talks about how, like, a lot of these websites online just run with headlines. They just go with headlines. They hear something. He gives a specific example about Matt Reeves, and he's correct on what he says. He talks about how everybody was jumping this gun and was all like, Matt Reeves is the new director for the Batman movie, blah, blah. That's not confirmed yet. I personally haven't seen it. From Warner Brothers hasn't confirmed it. You know, nobody's really confirmed it. Variety confirmed it. But, I mean, you know, we've seen that many a times when websites confirm something, but nobody else comes out and says anything. Warner Brothers hasn't said anything. Ben Affleck hasn't said anything. Matt Reeves hasn't said anything. So, you know, it still, as of right now, doesn't seem like he's in talks, as John Campea says, to direct the Batman movie, but there is no definitive answer on that subject. So he's talking about how these websites just run with this information. And he also gives another example about how the script has been thrown out, but somebody else has said like, oh no, they're happy with the script. And he gave really good examples, and that's why I said you guys should really watch this video. But I think, I find it so interesting because with him saying all of this stuff about how media is just really bad, I think he just became part of the problem with this rumor that he put out there because, or he's literally become what he was just talking about. He might not be doing anything wrong because before he said this rumor, that he made all of these disclaimers before and after he said what he said. But he has now become the source of one of these rumors, and all these websites are starting to quote him, and it's getting pretty crazy. But there's something that I want to point out about all of these websites quoting him because it's wrong. Before I sound any more confusing, let me just go ahead and talk about my problem with this rumor that John Campea said. With his own words, I'm just fucking confused because he says in the past 4 days, he's talked to 3 people, and both meaning 2, are involved in the stuff over at Warner Brothers. They're connected with it. That is what he says. What? How does this even work? I mean, this looks like it fits perfectly, but 3 people, both connected to Warner Brothers, makes no... Did he just make up a 3rd person? It makes no sense. He literally says it right here.
Over the past 4 days, I've talked to 3 separate people, both in one way or another connected some way to what's going on over at Warner Brothers.
He has talked to 3 separate people, both in one way or another involved in what's going on over at Warner Brothers. That doesn't even make sense. Before and after he says the rumor, he's talking about, you know, take this with a grain of salt, blah, blah, blah. I've been burned multiple times, whatever, blah, blah, blah. But in the sandwich meat part of that statement, he talks about how his 3 sources say that, make no mistake, Ben Affleck wants out of being Batman. When I hear the words make no mistake, that pretty much says this can't be wrong. Ben Affleck wants out of Batman. But take it with a grain of salt, people, because he's been burned before. The whole thing doesn't make sense to me. And before we dissect it even more, what I want to talk about is why, you know, John Campea has become part of what he was, kind of pointing out. And that's nothing against him. He has no control over that. I mean, he does, really. He does. The reason why he does have control over it is because you don't say it if it's not 100% true. Unless you have the exclusive confirmation from Warner Brothers, the director, Ben Affleck himself, that is when you should be releasing information. But, he was talking about, he mentioned it so many times. But, I mean, I just find it interesting that he just became part of the problem that he was talking about earlier in the video. And, because he even says, he was like, this is the internet age, something gets out there, people run with it. And that's exactly what he just did. Now, it could have been purposely, because I'm pretty sure Collider's getting a lot of buzz right now with this, because of course that is a juicy scoop. But the thing is, it's just like you just became part of the problem, and all of these websites are starting to run with this, and they are misquoting him because they are not questioning one specific part of that quote. And it is the freaking both part. They are not quoting that. Let me read you a quote from one of the websites, and I've seen this on at least 2 websites already. This is how they are quoting John Campea. Okay, over the past 4 days, I've talked to 3 separate people who are connected in some way to what is going on over at Warner Brothers. They just completely omitted the both part. Like, they took it out of there, and I'm not the best at freaking English. Like, I got B's and shit. I didn't get A's, but I pretty much remember when you quote somebody, you take their words for their words. Word for word is what I meant. But seriously, like, I know that it probably sounds better to omit that part, but it's a fucking quote. They have the actual video of what he said. I can prove it to you because I already showed it. Burp. But websites are picking what parts of these rumors now that they want to put out there. The one thing that could just make you think, like, that doesn't make any sense what he said. How does he go from talking to, in 4 days he talked to 3 people and both of them are involved in Warner Brothers? How did one of those 2 people become 2 people? Like, it doesn't make any sense. But news headlines aren't printing that because they're like, oh, that doesn't make sense because, if it doesn't make sense, then we're not going to be able to, people aren't going to click on it, and we're not going to be a reliable source. You're not a fucking reliable source because you're misprinting quotes. Sorry. Getting a little passionate here about this. And like I said, I've done this before. I've like shared things immediately. And John Campea, like I said, I'm not here to shit on John Campea. I am just trying to be what he was talking about. He says how like these people aren't, looking at their resources. They're not looking where they're going. They're just grabbing information and running with it. And it sucks because I'm exactly doing that, what he says. But I, instead of printing it and saying like, is this true? Ben Affleck doesn't want to be Batman. I'm dissecting what he said. And I'm trying to make sense of it. Because it doesn't make sense to me, the words he used. And other websites are starting to run with this, and it's gonna blow it out of proportion, just like he was talking about in this video. And it's nothing against John Campea. He can't, they misquoted him. There's nothing else. Like, we have the video, we can see what he said. He started the rumor, that is true. But people are manipulating the rumor slightly, and he has no control over that. But his rumor just doesn't make sense to me the way he said it. Now, maybe he misspoke. Maybe he didn't mean to say both of them. But when he just says 3 people and both of them are involved, it's just that doesn't make any sense. Did he just literally add a third person to make the rumor sound a bit more juicy? One person saying something, that's just like, oh yeah, I'm not really gonna believe that if only one person is saying it. 2 people, it's like, oh, okay, you know, maybe, what if they're friends? Maybe they both work in the same department, so they're both hearing the same kind of stories. But 3 people, holy shit, 3 people are saying this? Like, you know, it just makes it a little bit more interesting when you add bigger numbers to these rumors. So yeah, I just wanted to talk about how it didn't make sense to me. I saw the video, and when he uses the word both, it confuses me because it makes me think that he's just adding a person or he misspoke, and I don't know which one to believe. You know, I don't know John Campea personally. He seems like a solid dude. He doesn't seem like a DC hater. If any of you guys are out there that are like, oh, maybe he's just making up rumors to shit on DC. No, he literally in the same video says that he enjoyed BVS and he enjoyed Suicide Squad. I'm a huge DC fan, and I didn't really enjoy Suicide Squad. So I don't think it's anything like that. You know, I just don't know. He's apparently talked to 3 people, but it doesn't make sense the way he said it to me. And then of course everybody's misquoting him, like I said, a million times. So I don't know. Take that with what you will. Like I said, do watch this video so you make up your own opinions. Maybe you hear something else and you're just like, oh, well, I think he interpreted it this way. Always make up your own opinions on these things, and that's why I'm going to, you know, have this video for you guys to watch in the description down below. Now, with all of that out of the way, let's go ahead and talk about the actual rumor, and that is that Ben Affleck is thinking about leaving the Batman role. And that, if true, totally blows cock. And the reason it blows is I feel like that pretty much destroys the DCEU, because Batman is your big player. He is the linchpin to this whole connected universe now. And if you're going to lose him, it's just gonna be like, fuck. But, you know, one thing that they were saying in the Collider video when they were talking about Ben Affleck wanting out of his Warner Brothers contract to be Batman, he's saying that the Batman movie would be his final movie as Batman if this rumor is true. And I think that personally, if he wants out and he's not going to continue past the Batman, don't even fucking make the Batman. Like, let it end with Justice League, and don't even let Ben Affleck be in a Batman solo movie, because why would you even do that? You're going to make one badass Batman movie with Ben Affleck and then he's not going to make 2 more? Like, fuck that. Don't even give him an opportunity to make a solo Batman movie. Just let him stay with Justice League, his small part in Suicide Squad, and fucking BVS. Like, that is how we'll remember Ben Affleck's Batman. Don't give him a solo Batman flick. I just personally think it would be stupid to give somebody that doesn't want to continue being a character his own solo movie. Like, just don't do it. Just stop it. Whatever script you're working on, just leave it alone. Like, keep it, put it in an archive, and just be like, yo, Matt Reeves, like, you want to work on your own Batman script? Like, totally down with that if Matt Reeves is going to be the director of this. And then be like, do you have somebody in mind to play Batman? Like, let us know. And then, fuck, you know, whatever, just finish out these movies. And it just sucks. I don't know. I don't know if you can continue this universe with recasting Batman. That would be really fucking weird. I mean, you could try and maybe make the solo Batman film and have Dick Grayson take over as being Batman. That would be super bold, but you'd have to introduce Nightwing and then have him become Batman in the same fucking movie, and that would be insane, and I don't see them doing it. A lot of people can be like, go with Flashpoint Batman, make the first Flash movie Flashpoint, and then bring in, you know, Jeffrey Dean Morgan as Batman. Although that would be fucking awesome, it's still not Batman, it's Thomas Wayne, it's not Bruce Wayne. So, I don't know. I think if Ben Affleck leaves, the DCU is pretty fucked. A lot of people will be like, oh, it's fucked already, bro. I don't believe that. Like, I think you can course correct this, but losing your biggest star in this franchise, I don't know if you can course correct from that. And it would be pretty insane. I mean, there's a lot of storylines we can make up that they can do to fix it and shit like that to make sense of it being a new face under the cowl. And I mean, I have some ideas for it, but, you know, it's not anything to get into right now because, like I said, this is just a rumor. We don't know. Ben Affleck could just be under a lot of pressure with his movie failing at Warner Brothers recently, and then, you know, just like dropping out of the Batman directing seat, and you know, he could just be like a lot of under pressure. Maybe he's just not cut out for it, you know. Maybe, you know, with BVS he just doesn't like the criticism and he wants to go back to being an Oscar directing person instead of, you know, freaking being in the spotlight as much as he is right now. I don't know, guys, this whole thing is just pretty fucking crazy. I do want to know what you think about it in the comment sections down below. But if you like this video, give it a thumbs up and share it with all your Batman buddies. Don't forget to hit that subscribe button for all things nerdy and geeky on this channel. As always, I am your host, JUICEbox. Remember, when you wake up in the morning, ask yourself something. Have I made it?